Greetings, everybody. David McKnight here. Wanted to jump in this weekend and share with you what I believe are the top 3 critical issues for creating your resume, your cover letter, and your LinkedIn profile. I think these are the things, these 3 things for each one of these are game breakers or game makers. They're either going to just derail your opportunity to get in front of a hiring manager, or it's going to grease the skids and give you an opportunity, a better opportunity to get in front of that hiring manager. First, let's start with your resume. Job boards. So if most of us are going to apply to at least a few, I think it's really important in order to get past the ATS, the application tracking software, which is software that's used to scan your resume and convert them into information that gets sucked into a database to make available to the HR team and eventually the hiring manager. What's really important is that the format of your resume is easy to read. And what I mean by that is that you use this consistent font throughout. You're not getting fancy with graphics and images or left and right and center justification. You're using a pretty standard approach or format to your resume. If you're in a artistic career, architects or designer or something like that, it's fine to have then 2 resumes. Take some time on the fancy one. That's the one you're going to hand to the HR person and or to the hiring manager physically. But use a basic format for applying on the job boards. Otherwise, like I said, if it can't read it, your resume is not going to even be looked at by anybody because it doesn't pass through the scanning software and get converted into information that the employer can use. Number 2, your resume is aligned with the job you are applying for. So take some time. The employer gives you this little cheat sheet called the job description. And so in that job description, read through it, get a highlighter out and highlight all those keywords, all those key phrases. What are the skills? What are the qualifications that they're asking for? And then put your HR hat on and make sure that your resume has those same words and same phrases, those same skills and same qualifications on your resume. If it doesn't, then one of 2 things: get them on there, or 2, are you really a good fit for the role? So make sure that the keywords, your phrases, qualifications, and skills that perfectly match that role based on the job description that they gave you is aligned. Number 3, accomplishments, accomplishments, accomplishments. I can't say that enough. It's one of the areas that most people get wrong on their resume. They spend a lot of time and just reiterate the history and talk about job descriptions, but very few really do a great job of talking about what accomplishments you have had in your career. And when I say accomplishments, use numbers and figures and information and data to support and give some context to those accomplishments. It really should be a clear and compelling reason for the HR manager and the hiring manager to want you on their team to solve what that company's pains are too. And so, and when you talk about your cover letter in a minute, take one of those major accomplishments and focus on it. All right, cover letters. Let's talk about those. Number 1, the traditional cover letter format that many of us maybe have grown up to use, and I certainly am guilty of that too. That traditional format does not work. And if you remember the 6-second rule, that's about all that a HR person and a recruiter will spend on your cover letter and your resume. It's a pretty quick scan. And so if your cover letter looks like everybody else's, it's not going to get read. So you really need to use a different format, a different style of cover letter. And then make sure you're speaking in a very conversational language and use a story, something that's compelling for them to want to read your cover letter. There's 2 ways you can do that. One is to focus on your return on investment. Really, what value do you bring to that employer? Back to that accomplishments. I mean, is there a particular accomplishment that you've achieved that would resonate well with that hiring manager so that hiring manager is going to want you on his team or her team? Number 3, the other way to get that connection is through an emotional connection. So you're applying to that employer for a reason. Hopefully, it's more than just wanting a job, but hopefully, you've done a little bit of research. You've looked at the company's website. You've looked up maybe even the hiring manager. You've learned a little bit about it, and you've got a reason for wanting to send in your resume. Whether it's their culture, are you aligned with their culture, or it's the mission of the organization? Or potentially, if you've spent a little bit of time in understanding and getting to know that hiring manager, maybe you can find a good personal connection between you and that person. Look on their LinkedIn profile, look on the website. Sometimes they give some information history about that person. Is there a connection or clear connection between you and that person? Finally, LinkedIn. So the big thing with LinkedIn, number one, is making sure that it is chock full of the keywords that describe your skill sets. Again, it's back to a little bit we talked about with the resume, going through the job description, identifying those keywords. You need to make sure those same keywords are in your LinkedIn profile, and in many cases, used multiple times. So project management should be, if that's a role you're going at, that specific word words should be in your profile multiple times. The whole idea here is to leverage SEO, or search engine optimization. What that means is when the employer gets on and does a search and looking for people, that you're going to be discoverable. They're going to find your profile. I'll tell you a quick story. I've got a HR company I work with, or an employer I work with, and talking to the HR manager about how they go about finding people, because I noticed that they do use a job board. Um, and she told me that she doesn't even use her job board, that the boss makes her do it, because they're paying a little bit of money for it. But she says that she gets so many unqualified people that apply on the job board, it's just not practical for her to use it. So what does she do instead? She gets on LinkedIn. She searches for people, and that's how she's finding all of her candidates. So that's just one example. It's happening all the time. Recruiters do this a lot. They rely on LinkedIn an awful lot. So make sure they can find your profile. Number two, go beyond the resume with your profile and share a little bit more about yourself, your beliefs, your passions, your why. Um, Make it something that they can connect with you as a person as well. You don't need to go into a book. You don't need to share all of your details, but it's an opportunity for you to build on your resume, not just stop at your resume. So leverage the information on there. There's places for you to share media. There's places for you to get recommendations. Use those sections in order to tell more of your story. And three, keep the details consistent with your resume. I see this happen an awful lot. You get a really good resume sometimes, and most HR people and hiring managers and recruiters, after they get your resume, they're going to go and look up your LinkedIn profile. And if your resume and your LinkedIn profile are not congruent, that you got dates are wrong, or jobs are missing, or there's just nothing on your profile, it's not going to help your case at all. Matter of fact, it may even actually hurt your case, because they're going to think, what's up with this? Why is this information inconsistent and wrong? Last thing you need is a reason for them to not keep considering you. So make sure that your resume and your LinkedIn profile is consistent in the details, just that you build upon it. You give more information on your LinkedIn profile. All right, so hopefully that was helpful in providing some three, what I think are critical issues or reasons that focus on your resume, your cover letter, and your LinkedIn profile. My hope is that you have a great weekend. Enjoy the 4th of July coming up here soon. This is David McKnight, and again, please share any comments, feedback, posts. I really would value your input. Thank you.